preaching hate when he says, I'm not going to let the wolf eat me anymore. If the wolf comes in here, next time he comes in here, I'll do whatever I have to do to keep him off my back. Is the sheep violent or is the wolf violent? He wasn't teaching hate, he was teaching common sense. You know, somebody's knocking you over the head, stop them. Do whatever you have to do to stop them. You know, the ones that were knocking him over the head were afraid of the fact that he might swing back. So they said, no, he's teaching hate, it's violent.
All right, let's get into the hot news of the week, y'all.
Say hey, wave in the camera. What's your name?
Pay attention to these children. They are just two of hundreds of kids who were reported missing by their parents between 1993 and 2001. This footage shows where the kids were found. 400-acre compound isolated in a rural part of the state of Georgia, where normally no outsider is allowed entrance. The footage shows massive pyramids, a towering sphinx, and strange monuments. Inside, everyone appears happy, waving at the camera. But behind the smiles, these people are hiding a disturbing secret. When the local sheriffs investigated the missing children, they were met at the gate by armed men. While what really went on inside the compound remained a secret for decades, doctors in Georgia started noticing an alarming pattern. Multiple hospitals admitting dozens of children from the compound, as young as 11 years old, who were pregnant. The FBI quickly got involved, planning a raid on the compound to save the hundreds of children living behind the gates. But the FBI was afraid of having a repeat of the attack in Waco, Texas, a cult raid which saw dozens of young children murdered and sparked mass hysteria. The FBI would have no idea what they were up against until one 7-year-old girl escaped the compound before it was too late. She was the only one who could expose the truth.
All right now, y'all. I want you guys to understand what you're watching right now. This is back in the 1990s. A particular cult that was around back then. I want you to listen to the parallels, directly parallel to Dowell and Straitway Truth Ministries. And I want you to listen to a lot of different cults who are modeled themselves after this same blueprint. I want you guys to listen in, hone in on the tactics that's being used. Now we have widows that's being taken advantage of. Tomorrow it could be a little one. It could be one of Yah's little ones that is also being manipulated, coerced, and taken advantage of, just as so many daughters of Zion, right, who were groomed into understanding how to be a wife, right? Groomed into these things by Straitway. Now, there's so many different cults and sects that do the same exact thing that Dowell does. I promise you now. Jehovah's Witness, a lot of these other religious groups, like I've told you time after time, it is not the atheist you got to worry about. It is not the atheist. It is not the Satanists that you need to be concerned with. At least they tell you the truth. They tell you who they are. That's as much truth as you need to know. You need to be concerned about the individuals who say that they believe what you believe. You got to always be suspicious of individuals who are showing themselves to be suspicious, who are showing themselves to bear fruit of taking advantage of people, of betraying people, whatever it may be. You got to pay close attention to those fruits, right? It's the ones that's within the camp. It's the sheep that are among you that look like sheep, but they're truly ravaging wolves. Those are the ones. Let's continue, y'all. Let's continue.
It's 1977 in New York City. 2-year-old Nikki is living with her mother in a small apartment in Queens, New York, a neighborhood riddled with crime and violence.
There was a lot of gangs. There was drugs everywhere. Heavy on crime, heavy on murder, especially on Bushwick Avenue.
Every day, as Nikki's mom leaves for work, she experiences the brutality of the streets of New York. She thinks about little Nikki. This is not the world she wants her to grow up in, but with little money, the single mom doesn't have many options. But one day, everything changes when Nikki's mother is approached by a man in a long white garment. He hands her a book and points at the address printed on the cover. That night, she becomes filled with curiosity and reads the book cover to cover, finally feeling that her prayers and hopes for a better life are being answered. Immediately, she decides that she will visit the man the next day. As she walks down the street, happen. It's charismatic preacher, Dr. Dwight Malachi York.
All right. So Dr. Dwight Malachi York is a man that is extremely interesting, but a key player in a lot of this stuff. We got so many of these different wolves that we were warned about from our beloved brother Peter, who said what he said in regards to these false teachers will come on the scene and deceive many. You understand what I'm saying? Leading many astray. This is one of them. Dr. Malachi York, another devil, another wolf in sheep's clothing. You got to understand that this person is extremely wicked. But now these people are giving over into the enticement of Satan. This is the reason why Yeshua had to return and show us how to truly defeat the evil one, right? Because none of us would be able to do it without him. And that's just the facts and the truth. So while he's developing this particular cult of a different faith, a different belief, right? And it's more rooted into Egyptian culture, right? With no Messiah, with no grounding, without the scriptures, right? We have to now identify that Satan can creep in unaware, claiming to be somebody you can trust, teaching you false doctrines and damnable heresies. Let's continue. Let's learn more about this so-called doctor. Let's learn more about Dr. Malachi. Let's go.
He could walk in this room and get along with everybody. He knew how to bring people together, and that was his personality.
Oh, and shout out to Sister Nadia. Sister Nadia can vouch for that part of your story. You did relocate and brothers did fail you. I mean, yeah. But, my thing is this, that it's still my job. It's still my duty to do what's needed, right? But you think that it would be met with more care and understanding. The brother just moved over here, relocated, that would be an understanding explained, and then more assistance would come from just that understanding alone, showing myself to be faithful. It said, seek ye first the kingdom of the Most High Yah, and that's what I thought when I made that decision to move closer. I thought, seek ye first the kingdom. In fact, a lot of things that I sacrificed, the sacrifices that was made, I thought to myself, seek ye first the kingdom of the Most High Yah, and all of his righteousness, his riches and glory will be added on to you. That was what was played in my mind. Now, if you find out this is a wicked ministry and it's cult-like and it's cultish, are you truly doing the right thing? Because even after I was put out, I still was donating money to this, to the ministry, even afterwards, right? And thinking that I was doing the right thing for Yah's people. It was going to the right place, that it was going to be used for the right. And, granted, it potentially was, right? But still, you got to understand where my heart was, right? You got to understand where my heart was. So, but let's continue, y'all. Let's continue.
The community, known as the Nawabian Nation, had its roots in New York City back in the 1960s. At the time, the city was an even more dangerous place to live, especially for African Americans, who faced daily discrimination and violence in the years following segregation. Racial tensions were high, and the streets of New York were no less forgiving. Muggings, drug deals, and violent crime were a part of everyday life. So for many, the new community offered more than just a spiritual and cultural liberation. It was a safe haven for Black residents in New York and across other cities along the East Coast.
For people of African descent, our history, our culture were literally severed by slavery. So who are we? Here comes Malachi York and says, oh, I have the answer to that.
You are the original man, the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the Cleveland Foundation, the father of civilization, and God of the universe.
And
now we have this Malachi York, right, who's speaking about the Black struggle, the Black man, and how they are tied or associated with this great power. You understand what I'm saying? Providing a solution to a problem. Do we not have the same thing when it comes to these other cult leader, religious leaders, whatever relics they are, right? Same thing with Dowell, providing answers for times where you just are questioning the truth. What is the truth about the Bible? What is the truth about the scriptures? That's how I was roped in. I understood the truth. Deuteronomy was mentioned, Deuteronomy 28, and I wanted to do my own investigations as to what that was. I didn't even know that it was a book in the Bible at the time. How sad is that? But once I find out, I was running hard, y'all. I'm talking running hard. But my thing is that when a wolf sets his trap, when it lays its scent to capture whatever sheep want to come that direction, it uses the proper lure. It uses the proper trap. It uses a trap that will entice them, influence them, that looks pretty, that's beautiful, that's something that is going to be thought-provoking and answering the questions, and individuals who are thinkers, who are truth seekers, right? It's going to use the trap of preparedness, of STF, shit hitting the fan, bug out bags, Mylar bags, using a lure, using a trap to entice you and influence you to giving up your wealth. It's going to use the traps of every man should be a patriarch in his own home. Every man should be a real man, a man's man. A woman should submit. The woman shouldn't be running the home. It's going to use these lures, these traps to entice and influence what you would believe would be a real man, a real masculine man. What masculine man wouldn't agree with him on those points? But the moment you're in there, the moment you're roped in, the moment you're snared, just as Mobley was snared, was being wooed and psychologically manipulated by the snake. It's the same situation with these false leaders, these cult leaders. Same thing. What lure, what trap are they setting? A lot of times you gotta at least play the game to see, but always walk by the Spirit, y'all. Let's continue.
York says, well, why can't we have our own communities that are consciously planned for people of African descent?
And if you're not black,
Why can't we
The
have our
FBI
own
quickly-
communities? Oh, my
Plan.
bad, y'all. Why can't we have our own communities that is consciously planned for people of African descent? Why can't we have our own communities? Right? Why can't we have our own community? Let's continue, y'all.
For people of African descent.
and if you're not black, you don't belong in this room. All right now. It's a black thing. That's right.
York was an accomplished speaker who spent decades building this community. He often spoke about fighting for Black Americans and had ties to the Black Panther movement. On the side, he was also a musician, producing his own smooth jazz, funk, and disco records. He was an artist, an activist, and most importantly, the leader of the Nawabian nation. His message of self-empowerment and strength only grew stronger into the 80s, and that's when, in 1986, Nikki's family takes a big leap of faith. At just 11 years old, Nikki officially moves into the compound in Bushwick, New York. Along with her two younger siblings, she's promised a roof over her head, protection, and the assurance of a better, brighter future.
Boom. Promised. All of these promises of a better and brighter future. All of these promises that was made to this widow by Dowell. Give me half of that. And I got a better and brighter future. We got this. We promise you this and promise you that. We will live with the saints. The individual who relayed the message from Dowell, you should be ashamed of yourself. Same thing that this individual has done. This 11-year-old woman, young lady, has committed her life to this Dr. York and living on this compound because she feels as though this is the way to go for her salvation. She's been influenced, manipulated, enticed. Let's listen to what happened to this young lady.
It's an exchange from the hard knock life of being on the streets to moving into a community that was completely secured and protected by our own people.
But with their new lives come new rules, new customs, and ultimately, a completely new way of life.
My wardrobe changed, how we ate changed. We would study the Quran. We learned Arabic from Arabic teachers.
The spiritual leader is particularly fond of Nikki and her siblings and makes sure they're well fed, properly dressed, and kept entertained. He pays them close attention, greeting them warmly, checking in on their well-being, and ensuring they're included in community activities. For Nikki, the attention feels comforting, special. In a way, she's found a new father figure to look up to, someone both protective and powerful.
A little after I joined the community, my mom became one of his wives. That meant
One of his wives, his mother became one of his wives. You got to pay close attention to what's going on. So this is a single mother with her daughter who's joined this community, who's changed the way that they look, the way that they behave, they pray, keeping the Quran, which honestly, tell you the truth, the Sharia law. These are some of the things they're falling into. The same trap that a lot of you have willingly submitted to. The same trap that a lot of you have not even shed it off. You're still mentally drowned and confused and dazed in this particular Dowell syndrome. Believing that he is the man of Yah, believing this. But when you hear things like this about this widow is being taken advantage of when she's in her most vulnerable state, why would he want to take advantage of a woman in a most vulnerable state? Whereas to where you have individuals who've left his ministry, so-called ministry, this same widow came to them and offered them some money, and they chose not to take it at all. Elder Brent Crago chose to not take that money at all. So who you all tell me? Put it in the comment section. Put it in the chat. Give me a W if Elder Brent Crago, based on that testimony, is more righteous than Dowell. If you believe that Dowell's more righteous, put an L in the chat. Right? Because Elder Brent Crago did not take that money from that widow. He rejected it. He refused it, told her to hang on to it, in which Dowell effectively manipulated, coerced, controlled, put her under duress. Figured, man, if I don't get this to him, then I'm going to be a Jezebel. I'm going to be slandered in open format. Do you see the tactics, the fear tactics, the level of weaponry that's being used by these manipulators? I'm trying to tell you now. Yeah. Fear is a powerful, powerful tool. Fear is a powerful tool. And it can manipulate and control many who aren't strong enough. And this widow didn't have to exude strength. You know why? Because the men who were tasked to care for her they were the ones who should have been strengthened during this whole ordeal. They should have done that. My thing is this, right? The individual leaders that are a part of this, who knew what Dowell was doing the whole time and said nothing at all, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. It's shame on you. You need to repent. Because my thing is this, right? You stood by and you allowed this widow to sell her home, to do the things that she was doing. I believe Gideon was one who was firsthand in this, because he was the one who was tasked to look after this widow in the first place. You allowed Dowell to take advantage. You allowed him to assert his dominance over her. He looked at her and just like she was a snack. The level of fear, the level of control. It's sad. It's very sad. But my thing is that when you're dealing with these types of individuals, this is what they do. And I'm showing you another prime example. This person's way back in the 80s doing this to young girls, to single mothers with children. In which, of course, this is what's taking place. Let's continue. Let's continue listening to our story real quick.
I was one of his children, and I looked up to him. That's my dad.
Dr. Malachi Dwight York is the center of the Nuwaubian nation. He is revered as their leader and their savior. He is the provider of safety and hope. By this point, there's over 1,000 members, and their community center in Bushwick is becoming increasingly crowded. It comes to a point where it's clear to York that they've outgrown the city streets, and a new chapter needs to begin.
A physical state with our own passports and our own tax system. I'm talking about our own nation, where no one tells us what to do but us.
Dwight York decides to build a new home for his congregation, and it will be over 900 miles away from New York, in the rural farmlands of Putnam County, Georgia.
We're driving cross country. You see the rural areas that we weren't accustomed to seeing. We pulled onto the property and it was just open land. It was amazing.
The property was out in Putnam County in a very rural area, a little over 400 acres. Isolation was very much a factor. They were coming to Georgia. They were going to form their own nation, not subject to the laws of the United States.
Before York starts building in Georgia, he decides to fully overhaul the Nuwaubian nation doctrine, drawing from different cultures, religions, and mythologies from around the world to create a new identity for his community. He makes drastic changes to his appearance in his quest. One moment, taking on a Western persona, donning cowboy hats and boots. Next, he claims to be an extraterrestrial being called Yanan, and even going as far as calling himself Chief Black Thunderbird Eagle while wearing a feather headdress. He moves from one identity to the next until he lands on the perfect one that will define the new Nuwaubian nation. York gathers his followers for a sermon. There, he proclaims the true origin of the Nuwaubians, that they are, in fact, descendants of ancient Egyptians from a different planet. His loyal
Now, as you heard, that this guy morphed literally into 5-6 different personas before he landed on the one that struck gold for him, before he landed on the one that could really sink down into the souls of the vulnerable, the ones who are looking for spirituality, spiritual growth, something different, the ones who can be manipulated in ways to believing that the Bible was written to enslave everybody and enslave all, when truly it was just a tool being used to keep your mind entrapped. He morphed, changed, and molded into a few different facets in order to accomplish a goal. You tell me what Dowell has done that's no different. Before, he started out as an apostolic Christian, right? Associated with R.G. Stair. And when that was not booming enough for him, which I got some melanin in my skin, hearing about this Hebrew Israelite movement, let me see what true is. This is an opportunity to entice and influence a new crowd of people who are looking for spiritual growth, who are looking for an answer to a question they've had for so long. Who am I? Where do I come from? What did I used to practice? What traditions and beliefs did I used to keep? These questions that these individuals have, that I've had, that so many of you others have had, is what he provided a solution to. He wanted to provide a solution, regardless of how ready he was to deliver it, regardless on if he is truly equipped to deliver that resource or that answer. He decided he wanted to provide it, and look where it got him now. He decided to hold on to a faith that struck gold. You understand what I'm saying? And since it struck gold for him, he stuck with it. It got him what he wanted, what he desired. As this individual, York, Dr. York, morphed at least 5 to 6 times before he found the answer, before he found the faith that would strike gold for him. Where a lot of you individuals have come across this and fell in love with the truth, the knowledge of the truth, based on your own merit, based on Yah calling you, not this man's voice, not Dowell's voice. The Most High called you to do your research, to look into things. And a lot of you, the Most High told you that was a cult leader and to stay away from him, in which you ignored it because he had a compound and he had land and he built his own buildings, and you wanted to go see for yourself because he told you to come on down and see it for yourself. You fell into a level of trusting this individual, locking you into enticing and influence you with eyes and with ears that are itching. You fell right into a snare. And some of you love the chains that you're in. Some of you love the captivity that you're in. You're captives of wickedness, of deception. And a lot of you love it. A lot of you get on here and make testimonies about it. False testimonies, but to you, they're true. And the moment the scales are removed from your eyes, that testimony is going to turn to pain, because you're going to think how deceived you truly was. Right? When you start hearing stories like this widow being taken advantage of, over 100K stolen from her. Yeah, stolen. Let's continue. I believe that they built that pyramid too. These guys, they built that pyramid. And this is what influences you. This is what interests you. When somebody just builds all they got to do is build them a building, build them a mansion, build them a pyramid, and y'all gonna run to their ministry, run to their compound like a bunch of busy idiots, right? Myself included. And you're just gonna go do it. Why? Because you see the physical and not the spiritual, right? A lot of you say, hey, I'm from the show me state. A lot of you just want to be proven something. A lot of you come from a space of Christianity where they talked a big talk, but really the walk wasn't the same. And you just want to see something. You just want to see somebody do something right. You want to see somebody do something that's worthwhile. And you felt you saw it and found it in a lot of these religious and cult leaders. Looks pretty, but all that glitters ain't gold. Sometimes it's just shit. But let's continue, y'all. Let's continue.
Followers welcome their newfound identity and quickly get to work. They begin building. A massive sphinx head is erected, towering over the previously abandoned farmland. Artists are hired, murals are painted, and before long, dozens of elaborate structures and several large pyramids begin to take shape. With each new structure, the place transforms into something so bizarre and theatrical, drawing more and more attention from their neighbors and passersby. Dwight and his followers name it Tamaray, Egypt of the West.
If you were coming into Putnam County on Georgia Highway 142, all of a sudden there are pyramids out there in the middle of a cow pasture. It was very unusual.
Have you seen their property out there?
Oh, I've seen it.
What do you think?
I think it's kind of strange.
Though the neighbors are confused by the strange new community, the compound isn't disruptive. The grounds stay tidy. There's no noise and no trouble. It's strange to look at, yes, but it appears harmless. But the truth is not what it seems, and what's really going on behind these walls is far more disturbing. 2 years after joining the Nuwaubian community, Nikki finally feels settled in her new home. But then, one day, one of York's wives finds Nikki alone on the grounds. She calls her over urgently, leading her to a private room, and that's when the woman tells the young teenager something she never expected.
One of the wives, she had a conversation with me and said, York would be the person that would teach me about sex, and she would help me and talk to me because, these are things that you want to know as a growing woman.
In a state of shock, Nikki doesn't know what to do or how to feel. She just listens. Maybe this is normal, and every other young girl in the community gets the same talk from Dwight York as part of his teachings. After all, he is the respected leader, the prophet.
One of the things that he told us is the person who takes your virginity, that's the person that you're always going to be connected to and loyal to.
That's when the 45-year-old York comes in and locks the door behind him, leaving him and Nikki alone in the room. The young teenager looks at the man she calls her father. Something feels wrong. Suddenly, a strong sense of fear washes over her. In that moment, the trust she once had in him shatters.
And he was just like, it's not a big deal. Like, why are you making this a big deal? It wasn't something that I wanted to do, and he just kind of held me down and just did it. I was miserable. I used to write him many letters saying that I hated my life. And,
Wow.
you know, I wish I wasn't born, but there's nothing I could do about it. This is someone who, for all of my life, was our leader, our master teacher. So when you have that ingrained in you, you don't want to leave.
The world she thought she understood, the people she thought she could rely on, all feels different now. Everything has changed, and there's no going back. Nikki stays quiet, trapped by the rules, and by the eyes constantly surveying her, making sure she stays loyal and doesn't disrespect the leader by going against his teachings. With no one to turn to, not even her own mother, it feels like there's
Wow.
nowhere else.
It completely starts out with gaining their trust. Your parent is telling you that this is God, and this.
So when we're seeing this, right, and gaining the trust and doing what they're doing, this sounds a lot like these individuals. It sounds a lot like Randy. It sounds a lot like Dowell. It sounds a lot like these individuals who are taking Kabir up there in enslaved land, taking advantage of young girls, taking advantage of them, trying to take advantage of them in a essay type of way. This is what it is. And when we identify a lot of this, we know for a fact that this is the truth that has been repackaged, rehashed, and redelivered on so many different levels. When we look back into the history of what we're witnessing, when these individuals are doing what they're doing, they don't have the fear of the Most High. When they're out here actively lying about what they're doing, when they're lying about others, when they're lying on others and making them look bad or trying to besmirch their good name, they're not concerned about the Most High judging them. They're not concerned about the Father that you and I serve and whether they'll be judged harshly or not, or they'll be judged or held accountable for those actions. They could care less, honestly. And this is what I'm saying, because somebody who truly cared would move with more caution. Somebody who really cared wouldn't do things like this. Why? And if they would have fell into some sort of sin or temptation of sin, listen, my thing is that they will do what they can to make it right, to fix it. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. Some things are beyond repair. Like this young lady right here who suffered what she suffered at the hands of Dr. York, okay, Malachi York. That right there is difficult for her to repair that, right? When a young lady or a lady has been taken advantage of on that level, right? And honestly, it's difficult to restore the mind that has been fragmented in that way, okay? As a 11-year-old. So my thing is that the level of blood, because right, the Most High said what? To do what? To not don't do what you don't do anything to the little ones, right? The Most High said for us to be sure that we do not grieve. No, not grieve. Do not do anything to hurt the little ones, okay? I'm trying to think about the exact word that was used. Right? My bad. I'm trying to figure out the exact word. But you should not be doing anything to hurt even the least of the little ones. That you shouldn't be doing anything to hurt them, right? And it'll be better for a millstone to be tied about your neck, okay? And so these individuals aren't hearing the scripture speak. They're not caring about it. They don't associate that with spirituality. They just don't. Let's go ahead and dive into this thing. Offend. Yeah. Offend his little ones. Yeah. I appreciate you, Sister Rebecca. Thank you. Brain, sometimes, you gotta, but yeah, shout out to the chat. Thank you, sister, for letting me know. Hallelujah. Received. All right. So You should not offend at least his little ones. Shouldn't be. Yeah. It's just something that you shouldn't do. Should never do. And so I believe it's very offensive for Dowell to take a position of stealing, right? And taking the inheritance from them little ones. That was truly their inheritance. That was truly their wealth. Listen, 100K can only get you so far. 100K sounds like a lot of money, but listen, MC Hammer made millions, 300 million, in fact, and he still went broke. So you got to understand 200K is great in the hands of somebody who's going to, actually make that work for you, right? But if you are somebody who's taking half of it and just blowing it, and you're not looking out for the widow and helping her out and making sure she's making sound and wise decisions for her, right? To set her and her family up for a lifetime. Then if you're not concerned about that, then of course, 200K is nothing. It's going to be gone shortly. And that's the reason why she's found herself in positions where she's saying she's back up on her feet, is because the individual men, the leadership within Straitway, right? So-called leaders didn't do what it took to make sure that she was well off. Why would this widow be in a position that she had to pull herself out of and get back up on her feet? Why would she ever had to reach that position in the first place if that inheritance was left, if that those funds was left behind for her to be able to be sure that her life was good, right? That she was solid in everything she was doing. Why? You understand what I'm saying? Now, this is one of the biggest problems, okay, that I'm having with this situation. You understand what I'm saying? That every one of those individuals at Straitway did nothing to effectively help her. You got Dowell not showing up to any of the, did not show up to the funeral, didn't show up to the wake, didn't show up to anything to support, but he wants the support. He wants her to give. He forces her to give under duress, right? And he takes control over this widow and her money and effectively does nothing to help her. Why is she having to get back up on her feet if y'all are so responsible over at Straitway? If you men are so-called leaders, right? Any one of you who are still right now associated with Straitway, if any of you are responsible and honorable men, why would you have a widow who needs to get back up on her feet after receiving over 200K in inheritance? And what was left for her after her husband's passing? Why would she need to get back up on her feet if we got righteous men in this so-called ministry of Straitway? And when she's reaching out trying to figure out what's going on with her money so she can be able to be sure that her and her children are stable, okay? And she's reaching out for stability, not to try to bash you. She's reaching out because her and her children needs this. When she's doing so, you ignore her. You give her the cold shoulder. We're going to see if you can continue to ignore her now. We're going to sound this alarm bell. We're going to keep raining this out. We're going to keep talking about this situation because she's not going to go away quietly. Her story is not going to be left untold. You understand what I'm saying? All right, y'all. We're going to go ahead and land this plane here, man. I really appreciate you guys for joining me here at the WarSheep Podcast. And like I said before, listen, we need maximum effort from you guys. All right. So don't forget to like this video and don't forget to comment and subscribe and share it. We need maximum effort. Yes. So let's give this maximum effort, y'all.
Maximum effort.
You who are here hating on me, feel free. Feel free.
If there's any haters in here right now that don't have nobody to hate on, feel free to hate on me. Sit back there and say my hair ain't luxurious when you know it is, bitch.
All right, y'all. As always, be blessed. Peace. And shalom, shalom. See you guys in the next one, all right?